Hey guys, not my usual filming setup. I am currently on a work vacation. I'm traveling and living somewhere else, trying to set up another business. So I know that a lot of people are panicking about the UMPI, SophiaStudy.com changes, and it's really important to me to let everybody know that this is not that big of a deal, and I want to explain why in great detail. So I've got kind of a written statement. I'm going to go through it and explain to you why we don't need to panic. We're all good. So as you probably know, University of Maine at Prescott, UMPI or UMPI, changed their transfer equivalencies so that it is now more complicated to transfer in large numbers of outside credit to their school. And this is sad because UMPI is probably the single quickest and best way to earn a college degree in 2025. At least were they until May 1st. Spoiler alert, they still are. And these new policies do make that harder, but not impossible. So the whole thing is not worth panicking about, and I'm going to explain why. I originally wanted to do this long treatise on the history of college hacking because I find it fascinating, but I'm going to skip most of that and basically say that since college hacking started, colleges tend to go through this life cycle where they have super transfer friendly policies, they have great prices, they're really easy to work with, and then a bunch of college hackers discover it, and then they tighten up those policies, they try to squeeze a little bit more money out of everybody, which not necessarily was happening with UMPI, maybe not. But they go through this life cycle, and then everybody kind of gets less excited about that school, and they move on and find the next one, just like we did with UMPI. Thomas Edison State University, Excelsior, and Charter Oak are all probably the best examples of that. They used to be the non-negotiable big three. Those were the schools that everybody hacked. And these days, Excelsior, you don't hear much about them. Charter Oak, you don't hear much about them. It's really just Thomas Edison that's still solid, and even they, yes, did make it a lot harder to graduate with degrees from there. Like, they really don't play ball with Sophia for the most part, and they prefer things that are proctored like CLEPs and DSSTs, which makes them a no-go for a lot of people who prefer UMPI. Anyway, we're at this point now where UMPI is finding its point in that cycle, and people are going to have to decide whether the added complication, and spoiler alert, they're going to complicate it more. That's just how this works historically. We're gonna have to decide whether this added complication leaves the school still worth it to us. So skipping past the part in my script here where I talk about the history of it and wax eloquent, basically we've already seen some changes with UMPI. They started out much cheaper, and now they're $1,700 for an 8-week period. And this most recent change, May 1st, changed what credits they transferred in from Sophia and Study.com pretty significantly, and in a way that makes it much harder to hack business degrees. I say much harder. I should tone that down. Slightly harder, and we'll get into why here. Essentially, what seems to have happened is they took a closer look at their Sophia and Study.com courses they accepted, and they slashed a lot of upper level courses from each. They changed a couple of general education courses, like where those applied and how they transferred in, but they went through particularly in the business class and said, yeah, this Study.com course that transfers in as Business 360 or whatever now just transfers in as a business elective. And college hackers know one of the hardest things to hack is upper level credits in your major area. And because there are so many business credits in Study.com and CLEP, a lot of times business degrees are the easiest to hack. But surprisingly now at UMPI, they're going to be among the hardest, particularly accounting, which is going to be roughly 50% harder to hack than it used to be. Moving on to all of this, I went and did some digging. I talked to leadership at UMPI. I asked them, hey, why are these changes happening? And they gave me basically the same form, what would I say here? Corporate legally safe statement. The University of Maine at Prescott has completed a thorough review and update of all course equivalency charts to ensure they align with our program standards, best preparing students for success in the workforce. This process maintains academic rigor, remember that, while offering students the most efficient pathways to completing their degrees. And if we break that down, it is honestly kind of discouraging. If they're maintaining academic rigor, why are they changing something? Doesn't that mean that they're increasing rigor, or does it mean that they found out that they didn't have rigor in the past? Maybe not a bad thing. Like, rigor can be a really good thing. It can raise the profile and the value, the perceived value of a degree. But why don't they just come right out and say we're making it harder, to help our students? Instead, they, just sort of this corporate jargon about maintaining academic rigor. And then they're definitely not offering students the most efficient pathways. The degrees are still pretty efficient, but they're not the most efficient. The most efficient would be to transfer in more courses from Sophia and Study.com and these other places. So I think that the part that I probably least liked about this entire thing is just sort of that side stepping around it. And they're a big organization. This is the University of Maine. This is their Presque Isle location. They have to be very careful how they phrase this kind of stuff, not only for the sake of their accreditation, but also for the perception of their degrees. If they came out and said something like, "Oh yeah, we're making it harder because we were way too easy in the past," that's kind of embarrassing for them. So I understand where they're coming from. I understand why they're giving us this sort of a statement. It's not great, but it is what it is. And we can kind of read past it and see what maybe is going on there. I asked for further clarification on what they meant by this, and of course received no response. I don't blame them for that. I will say that they have reached out to current students and basically said, hey, if you're already enrolled and using some of these transfer courses that we're no longer allowing, we'll still grandfather you in. So if you need help with that, you should go talk to your academic advisor. It seems like they are doing right by their students in regards to promises that they've made in the past. And if you're a college hack a college hack client who's dealing with these changes, reach out to us via email, and we can set you up with like a super reduced price mini consultation and help you get set up and moving to be able to fix anything in your degree that is affected by the changes that have been made. Apart from that, all this has happened before. There's nothing new under the sun. This is going to happen. Eventually, UMPI, just based on historical practice, will probably make some policy changes that make them not the best choice for college hackers anymore. And in which case, we'll go find another school that's the best. I used to think like, oh, Thomas Edison, did all the things that they did to make it harder to hack degrees there. It's the end of college hacking. Well, then UMPI came along and it was better than Thomas Edison ever was. There are colleges out there who A, want your money, and B, want to serve students and help them graduate quickly and efficiently. That's what I meant. So just a quick summary of the changes. There's a couple of courses swapped in the general education. For upper level courses, few are going to be accepted directly from sophiaorstudy.com, particularly in business. You might have to pull a course from Straighterline or a few from Sailor to be able to put together the most efficient possible degree program. But I think, if I'm remembering correctly, most of the degrees with UMPI that were affected by this, you can still graduate transferring in 90 credits, and their big degree, like the one that really matters, the bachelor's in liberal studies, basically completely unaffected, other than just having to work a little bit harder to find upper level credits to meet that requirement in the major area. UMPI is still the fastest, cheapest choice. All of these changes, as far as you're concerned, mostly just mean a little bit more work for Lauren and I when we're building your plans if you sign up for College Hack. That being said, there are a few other random things that I need to get off my chest, things based on what I've been seeing people talk about in forums or in Discords or whatnot. And I'll just go ahead and read a little bit of this. Number one, if you think that this whole change is proof that college hacking was a joke all along and that this was only a matter of time before schools started to realize what a joke this was and started raising their standards to something realistic, please stop displaying your ignorance. The credits that we transfer in are widely respected and used. If you think that being able to pass approximately 90% of undergrad courses is a referendum on your intelligence or the difficulty of your college education, you are wrong. Undergraduate programs in the US in 2025 are not meant to be a display of rigor or of your reputation as an academic or anything like that. There are a few schools that really buy into that still, but for the most part, we're in kind of a tough economy right now, and we don't really have the luxury to sit around and just make things hard for the sake of being hard. A lot of schools are focused on getting people into the workforce and helping them make a better life for themselves. And to do that, we decide what's important in classes. We make sure people learn those. That's what competency-based learning is. Number two, this is not necessarily a sign of the impending doom for college hackers everywhere. Since the days of the big three, Thomas Edison, Excelsior, and Charter Oak, we've seen a lot of schools go through similar life cycles. It happens. Online schools live and die on transfer students. They want you so badly. You adult learners who have a couple of credits left over from college back in the day, want to find a place where they'll fit, want to find a way to graduate quickly. They will do anything to get your money so that they, can help you build a better life and all that stuff, of course. There are still a lot of very hackable schools out there that have not changed policies. LUO changed some policies recently, and SNHU a couple years ago. WGU is still very hackable. Thomas Edison, even despite the changes they made, like you can still graduate there for under $9,000 and in under a year, no problem. Like that's very, very doable. And there are continuing to be more schools that pop up that are wanting to get in on this game and to try to serve people like you who are not satisfied with the status quo. Apart from that, I just want to take personal credit for this problem. I would like to think that I caused it, and along with me, also you. Everybody who's been a fan of UMPI since we first started talking about them on this channel, and since they started gaining a little bit traction elsewhere, like we basically made UMPI as big and as popular as it is. I've had conversations with the former dean who was like honestly, like low key annoyed with me because her job used to be easy and simple. And then she started having to work insane hours to keep up with the number of students, and they had to like hire more people for UMPI. And like I kind of told a lot of people about UMPI, and there were people who told me about UMPI, but we here on this channel really got the information out there and shared it and helped a lot of people do a lot of good and earn a lot of degrees through this sincerely awesome school. And we're going to continue doing that because UMPI is still a solid school, and we are going to try to overload their working professionals so bad for years to come, as long as they continue to play ball and not make hugely drastic changes that frankly make what we do impossible. But yeah, no, we still love UMPI here at College Hacked. I'm sure that you guys still do, even if you're a little miffed about what happens. I'm there with you. I think that some of the stuff was not well handled. But I just want to leave you with this. Don't panic. Have fun. Keep hacking. And if all the changes with this whole thing seem too complicated, there's an easy solution. Sign up for a consultation with us and let us take on all that mental load that comes with changing academic standards and policies at really cool schools that we want to go to. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for not panicking, and happy hacking.